Yeah, so part two, we're doing our NBA Finals report card. Senior Basketball Analyst, you guys already know what it is. So here we go, man. We're on the Golden State Warriors. We're on the actual roster, a team that actually is built to, I don't know, win games and things like that. So yeah, so we're gonna start with the bench just like we did for Cleveland. Greg, sound off, man.
Kicking it off, Andrew Bogut, who started the series as a starter, ended up on the bench, and then ended up out of rotation altogether. So I gave him
Oh,
a
you're
D.
gonna call him. So you're not calling
Oh,
him the starter. You're
yeah,
just
that's the
calling him
thing. He's
demoted
a
him.
he's a bench player. He's kind of in the rotation. I didn't. He's the wild card. I didn't know how to really classify him because I've never seen that happen in the NBA Finals. I've never seen a starter get pulled after 2 games, get benched, and then not play at all in the final 2 games. I've never seen that happen. And I've never seen it happen to someone who was like all NBA or all defensive team kind of thing. Never seen this happen. So
Everybody that voted for him need a vote taken away.
sure do. Sure do.
For real.
Yeah, so great I gave him was a D minus. I didn't want to give him a straight F because actually game one he at least produced stats. He had a bunch of rebounds. He, blocked a couple shots or something. In game two he wasn't terrible either. Minutes went down, fouled a lot. Obviously couldn't keep up with Mozgov, and every single night he was outplayed at his position. So I can't say much good about him except that it wasn't the worst performance on the floor. It wasn't F worthy. But yeah, I gave him a D minus. I got him as close as I could without failing him completely.
Um, nah, there's some merit to that, I suppose. Um, yeah, even if I look at the playoffs overall, nah, he stinks. Bogut is a bad basketball player, and here's the thing, and let's talk about effort.
Mhm.
Our director just has been incensed by Andrew Bogut's inability to just run the floor.
Mhm.
Basic stuff that just
Yeah.
won't get up the floor and then get back on defense. Andrew Bogut is only 30 years old. I looked at for some reason I thought he was like our age. He's 30.
Yeah.
He's not old. He
Mhm.
just doesn't care. He's bad, dumb, and doesn't care.
Mhm.
Because if you're in the finals and you won't run the floor, he's another dude. If he
Get
wasn't
off the
making
team.
so much money, you'd cut him. You'd
Yep.
cut him. But somebody is probably dumb enough to trade for him. They're not going to trade him. Someone's dumb that they trade for him. I give some value for this clown. He's horrible. He
Mhm.
can't. He can't do anything. And I'm. You know what? I'm not even going to go and belabor the point. Timofey Mozgov showed you what he's worth. Nothing. And that's why
Yeah.
he ended up out of rotation entirely, just sitting there watching.
Yep.
F minus, as bad as it gets.
Wow.
Dellavedova bad, terrible, useless, cut. Not a basketball player. You know what? Honestly, Andrew Bogut is a literal example. And it's interesting how things. Um, it's interesting how this Euro bumming in the NBA has turned the center position into this guy's just 7 feet tall. That's all he is. He's just a guy that's 7 feet tall and can walk and chew gum. That's
Mhm.
all he is. He's not worth anything else. That's why offensively, it was. You know what? I'm not. You know what? The coaching staff told you what he was worth. They benched him.
Yeah.
Garbage. F minus. Next.
All right, so moving on from the All NBA defensive center who DMP'd the last 2 games of the finals
I
to
can't believe they did that. God, dude, Jermaine was pissed about that too. That was ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. Next guy on the roster, I'm gonna go with David Lee, who I had to give a B, even though this is a guy who didn't play every game in the series either.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the final game he only played like a minute or something like that. So it's not like he was called upon all the time, but he was critical, I think, in allowing them to be able to move away from Bogut, which I don't know, this is some coaching credit, but it's also I'm glad David Lee was able to contribute efficiently and effectively So I gave him a B. I thought in the minutes that he played and what he was asked to do, he came in at some very critical points. And the first time we kind of saw him in game 3 or whatever really was the catalyst to turning around what the team was doing. All of a sudden, they were able to keep pace with the front court of Cleveland for the first time, I felt like, in the whole series. And it was because he was coming in, he was finishing in the lane with both hands, he was getting to the line, he was being active.
Was he finishing people off with both hands, dude?
I didn't say he was beating people off with both hands, just finishing off with both hands. Yeah. So no,
oh my God, dude.
I thought David Lee was pretty good. I gave him a solid B, for David
Lee. I gave David Lee a flat C. I gave him a flat C. And I used very similar logic to my Iman Shumpert grade. Iman Shumpert got a C- because I felt like he was hurting his team a lot, offensively. David Lee, I gave him a C because he's just a horrific defender. He's a scary bad defender, and it showed. And you know what? Honestly, to talk briefly about the coaching decisions that were made, you know, Mark Jackson had David Lee starting because Draymond Green was not very good last year.
Mm-hmm.
People kind of forget that. People forget that Draymond Green used to be fat. And Draymond Green used to not be able to dribble. And Draymond Green used to not be able to shoot. And as he said on NBA TV, he got with, you know, his who he calls his big brother, Steve Smith, also a Michigan State alum. And Steve Smith told him, you got to work on your ball handling. You got to work on your shooting. You got to start eating right. And Draymond Green comes back, and all of a sudden, instead of being just Goon Green can hit a jump shot, and Goon Green can handle the basketball now. And he's in shape, so he's moving better. And David Lee got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So this wasn't some brilliant coaching decision by Alvin Gentry or Ron Adams or Steve Kerr. This was David Lee got hurt, and Draymond Green went from being this level of player to this level of player.
Mm-hmm.
And David Lee has always been a horrific defender, and the defensive principles that Mark Jackson instilled in this roster, which is the most difficult thing to do in the NBA, to take a bad team and get them to start defending. It's the most difficult thing to do. And the defensive principles that he instilled had this team defending pretty well, even with David Lee at the starting power forward position. They can't go back to that, because they can't defend with him on the court at the level that they are used to defending at. Mm-hmm. With all that said, David Lee played pretty well on the offensive end. It was kind of business as usual. Once he got work, knocked some of the rust off, it was business as usual. It was a standard David Lee performance. He would have done more if he'd been asked to do more, but they chose to not do that. I'm basically in agreement with you, but I knocked him down. Again, same thing. You can't be killing me on one end and then playing well on the other and then get a B. You know, he gets a C, and back in the old days he would have got a D for that. But now no one defends, so you get a C for that, because you know everybody, you know, it's like Jermaine said, we're all cobbling players together to equal a player now. Nobody comes out and just plays both ends. So, but yeah, I thought David Lee was fine, and I wish he had played more. I think he should have played more. So yeah, who's next on the bench?
I'm gonna stay in the front court for Golden State. Festus Ezeli, who Festivus for the rest of us. He almost stole himself a B from me. Almost. I had to give him a C+ just because he just is not that good, to be honest. But I think he showed up in the games where when I looked at the stats earlier today, in the games where he played minutes above like 10, 12 minutes, he was actually pretty productive. He didn't always play that much, and then he wasn't effective. But again, didn't make a lot of mistakes. Got some offensive boards, got some putbacks. Game 6, he was out there playing, going for broke, man. He's tip dunking, getting and ones and all that stuff. So he played well when it was important for him to play well, and when he was asked to play well. So, asked to contribute. So I gave him a C plus. But nothing special, not overly impressed. Gave him a C plus.
I gave him a C, and the reason I gave him a C is I thought that the reason that he wasn't playing in those other games because he came in and played like he had he was brain farting all over the place. He's not a focused dude, man. Like some games he comes and he's dialed in, and then other games he comes out there and it's not, dude. It is not Festivus season. And you just put him back on the bench. And that's the type of player I get. That's again more overhyped nonsense. He can start. He's a starting center. This. First of all, I'm not even sure he has a 5 skill set. Secondly, starter. Yeah, if your team is terrible, you want Bismack Biyombo starting for your team, and you bad, fine. I mean, he's a little better than Bismack, but not much. And you know what else I'll tell you too? He's not a very good defender right now. He makes a lot of defensive mistakes, a lot. He's pretty athletic, so sometimes he can he can make up for a mistake and get a block here or there or something, but he's not a very good defender. So Festus, man, C minus, man. And by the way, he's a career backup. Stop with that starter stuff. If I ever see, no, seriously, if you ever see him as
Jeff Van Gundy, man, he can start on any team in the league.
Again, man, Jeff, there's kids watching, man, trying to learn something about the game. Don't say stuff like that, man. Don't say, you know what? There's plenty of people that are playing well to praise. You don't have to gas up these dudes that aren't any good, man. Stop doing that, man. He catches the vapors every time anybody does anything. It's so stupid, man. He needs to stop that. And you know why I'm saying he needs to stop it? Because he knows better. I know he knows better. So that bugs me, man. So moving on, man. Who you got next, man? Barbosa, somebody like that?
Let's go with Barbosa. Moving into the backcourt. Also, just a C for this guy. I thought he was fine. He only had one game that was really important. I think he was only above 10 points that one time. I think he had like 13 points or something like that. The other games, he was fine. He didn't shoot horribly badly. In fact, actually, I think for him, he shot really well and was pretty conservative. Pushed the tempo a lot of times when they need him to. All right, I'm changing my mind. I'm giving him a C+, actually. Because now that I'm thinking back on the series, there were a couple games where it was important for them to start getting out and running. And Leandro Barbosa is nothing if not the guy who likes to take an errant rebound or an inbound and just push the ball right up the court. And I think that plays to Golden State's style of play. That helps them get into their transition offense. That helps guys like Clay get those wide open threes in the corner in transition, things like that. Even when he misses, he pushes the tempo all the way to the rim, which allows guys like Draymond Green to get in the mix. And I think it's the right thing to do. So, yeah, he actually was more important than probably his stats showed. Because he didn't knock down a bunch of threes. I think he shot around 40-ish% conservative with his three ball. Didn't take or make many. And then same thing with his field goals. I mean, it wasn't like he was pushing the issue, but when the opportunity arose, he gave him the right type of contribution. So I give him a C+.
I gave Barbosa B. I thought Barbosa was everything you said, and I think that I think that that's better than average. I think Leandro Barbosa is a he's kind of a one-sized guy, but he's really a two. He's just short, but he's really a two. And defense is not his strong suit, but I thought he played basically mistake-free. And offensively, he did what you expect Leandro to do. Leandro's either going to catch and try to score with some kind of quick hitter. He ain't got a fancy handle or anything. He just drives hard one way or the other. And or he catches and drops that three ball. He's got a pretty quick release. And other than that, he's just going to kick it back out. He ain't trying to create. He's nothing. Leandro Barbosa is one speed, one gear, one trick pony. He's going to get buckets. And while he was out there, he did that. He did everything as advertised, and they didn't play him. That they played him. I'm looking at this. They played him 11 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
At his age, and coming off the surgery, coming off the ACL surgery, and then on top of that, he had the cool post. I don't know if you saw the post game, interview in the locker. He's like, "Man, I'm drunk, man."
I saw something about it. I saw like a video. I didn't click into it and watch it. But
no, it was great because he kept saying we are championship. It was great. It was good because he's English is a second language, so
yeah.
But man, it was you know what? It was cool to see a dude, getting at the end of his career. Yep. He got on the right. He landed on the right team, and you know what? He wasn't a dude just on the roster. He played well, man. He filled his role, did it ably. Leon, we've been watching him play since the old Phoenix Suns days, and you know what? Barbosa, man, he's like your basketball friend, man. Like you've been watching him for a long time, and again, doing the same thing over and over again, man. He's just running up the court really fast. He can finish with either hand, and then he's going and he'll hit some threes, and that's all he does. That's all he doesn't do anything else. And it was cool to see him win a title, and it's cool to see him be so happy about it, man. It was cool. So Leandro Barbosa, B, good job, man.
I can't agree more about being happy for him, right? Winning the championship. Well, I think at one point when one of these shows we kind of talked about how Cleveland is the roster full of guys that we all said, nope, none of those guys should ever get a championship in the NBA. J.R. Smith, Mozgov, Dellavedova. You go down the list, right? Guys that Brendan Haywood, nope, even though he's got one with Dallas, but whatever. Yeah, these are a bunch of guys.
God, does he?
I think he does. I think he was on that Dallas team that year.
Oh.
I think so.
Brendan.
But anyhow, these guys are classic Hall of Fame losers in the NBA for good reason. and then you look at the flip side, and Golden State has all the guys who are also guys who have just never been on the right team at the right time, but have always been an important part of every team that they've been on. Yep. Be it Barbosa, be it David Lee, even on the bad Knicks teams, when he was still 20-10. Yeah, it's just good to see these guys get out. And Sean Livingston, next guy we're going to talk about. I mean,
roll right into it, man.
Right. From the Clippers teams to Brooklyn last year to Golden State now. And I had to give him a B+ because I don't know what else you could ask for from a guy who's the backup point guard to the MVP of the league. And in games where the MVP was not on his game, Sean Livingston still came in, controlled tempo, ran the offense, got big shots when you needed it. He hit one of those games, he really filled up every stat column. He hit everything. And, I'm talking, if you needed him to go back to the basket and get you some buckets in that phase of the offense, he was doing it. If you needed him to get out in transition, he was doing that. Sometimes I saw him guarding LeBron. He didn't stop LeBron, but he played well enough for a guy who ain't supposed to ever have to match up and deal with that. And he did it, and he took on the challenge. I liked everything that he did. He was hitting the offensive glass at points. I loved everything they did. So I couldn't give him an A just because he just did not consistently produce A-caliber stats throughout the series. But, you talk about a guy who gave you everything you could possibly ask for. So I gave him a B+, and thrilled to see this guy get a championship. Coming back from the knee injury, all that stuff. Man, from Illinois. So, I can't be happier for him.
I'm going since you gushed a lot about Sean Livingston, and I think rightfully so. I'm gonna go negative because that's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
When Sean Livingston came out of Peoria, I was like, why would anybody draft this guy right out of high school? I was like, I don't understand this at all. I watched the dude play. The dude is all right as a high school player. He's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Very Ricky Rubio style game when he came to the NBA. Couldn't score to save his life. Couldn't guard his man to save his life. Every now and then he'd throw a slick pass. So what? Like, okay, The game is scoring, defending first, rebounding and passing second. You're doing one of the secondary skills. Okay. So what? Then he has a catastrophic knee injury. I'm not one to say just because a dude got hurt. It's like with now Caitlyn Jenner. Just because you decided you wanted to have a bunch of surgeries and wear a wig doesn't mean you're no longer a terrible father and a clown. Like, all of that clownish stuff that I've been making fun of you about for years doesn't end because you decide to do this. So by the same token, just because Sean Livingston has a terrible knee injury and we feel bad for him doesn't mean that he's now some good player. And it just went wrong for him and he was good before that. No, he wasn't. He was terrible. That is what, for me, makes it really cool to see Sean Livingston this good a player. Sean Livingston can hoop, man. And I know that hard work, man. That's exactly what we're talking about, man. Not fake hard work, not flailing your arms, not diving unnecessarily into people's knees. Hard work, man. Real hard work. And that's what Sean Livingston is, man. He's an example of perseverance, not just through the terrible knee injuries and the rehab and all of the psychological work that you have to put into yourself to get through something like that, but the working on his skill set and working on his game. This is a dude can now play with his back to the basket. He now is, now I never saw this dude finishing over the top with tip dunks like routinely. I never saw this dude doing that when he was young, when he was a young guy.
Young with two good legs.
Yeah. Now he's all stitched back together. He got to be almost 30 at this point. This dude has really worked on himself physically. He's worked on his skills. It's great to see him. He's one of the best backup point guards in the league. I gave him a B+ only for if he was a little bit more consistent. And sometimes he kind of would fade into the background. And a lot of that is the nature of the team he's on. But Sean Livingston, man, he came to hoop every night, both ends of the floor. You're right. He ably checked LeBron. Nothing spectacular. He just didn't make a fool of himself against the best player in the world.
Right.
As a backup point guard, a dude can guard 1s, 2s, and 3s. He's one of the best backups in the league. He played very well. He's another dude. I watched their little silly video they did on the plane. He's pointing at the NBA championship hat. I was happy for him, man. I said, you know what, that dude, man, he really earned it, man. He earned that ring, man. You gotta love it. You're right. This team has a lot of people that I was like, you know what, I'm glad to see it got a ring, man. I'm glad to see it. So yeah, man. Look, I never thought I'd be rooting for Sean Livingston, man, but I really like the dude. I really like him. Sean Livingston, man. B+, man.
Cool. All right, so I guess on to the starters, which is weird because they really college basketball this year, man. They really like this roster.
Is the 5. And you know what I like about what Kerr did? Kerr didn't do any funny style Greg Popovich nonsense. He turned in the card and put Goon as a 4.
Yeah.
He didn't act like an idiot. He's a center now.
Right.
But yeah, go. Let's start with Goon.
So Goon really turned it around, in my opinion, because he started this series off pretty badly, and I know you mentioned that maybe he had some injuries going on and things like that. I always thought the defense was there, to be honest. I mean, even in the games where clearly he was gun shy on the 3-pointer, he was passing up a lot of open looks that probably in prime Draymond Greenness, he takes that 3 and makes it most of the time. But he was passing on it. And then also, as much as they run that play where they run the high screen with Steph Curry and him, and he, Steph, and the trap comes out high.
It's always pick and pop. I don't know why he never rolls it. It's always.
I don't know. And then what it ends up doing is he ends up having to do this, which works because he's very skilled, right? He's a very skilled ball handler, a decent passer, and a relatively intelligent player, basketball IQ-wise and all, So he crashes to the lane, right? He gets the ball up top from the key, crashes the middle of the lane, and he throws that lob, and sometimes the lob is ridiculously errant and bad. and so, I hate that play so much. And half of the time, by the way, Steph Curry throws the ball away when he's trying to do it, right? Like, Steph Curry we'll talk about when we get to Steph Curry. Steph Curry throws the ball away, like, on 40% of those.
You know what? If you read some of the and I'm not gonna insult them by calling them fanboys. They act a little fanboyish, but some of the people that are writing about Golden State that really are excited about them and really love them, they talk about that pick and pop with Green like that's so awesome, and I'm like,
it's not even that good a play. It's not that good.
Thinks against good defensive teams. Against bad defensive teams, they be eating them alive with that. But they both are so mistake prone on it. It's like they have horrible chemistry on that. Horrible. And I don't know why everyone else is so enamored with that. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's like they get lucky. It's like they get lucky when it works, to be honest. For all the different parts of that to work correctly, it's lucky.
I think Steph I think has 2 behind the back passes on the pick and pop to Green where he wasn't even there.
Right.
He threw it behind the back to nobody.
It's ridiculous. It's the most unsuccessful, highly praised play I've ever seen in basketball. So, anyhow, but get back to Draymond Green. What I did like about him, he brought the defensive effort every single night. A couple games, he was above 2 or 3 steals. A couple games in this series. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was him disrupting some of the low post stuff that was going on for Cleveland. And I like that. He got out-rebounded by Tristan Thompson, but I think in the series he was still above 8 rebounds per game, which is still pretty good. So, and then finished off that last game with the triple-double, brought it all home, did everything exactly right. So, again, a guy who brings the effort every night, who did, I think, everything he was supposed to, played above his averages, all that stuff. I had to give him a B+. Couldn't give him an A just because it wasn't there in the beginning of the series, but I thought – and got in foul trouble a lot too, which is the problem. But that's just him being him again. So, but you take the good with the bad with that guy. So I like what he brought to the series. Gave him a B+. I thought he was excellent. Didn't take care of Tristan Thompson as well as probably he could have. But other than that, there's just not a lot to pick at, I don't think, about the way he played. And I thought overall he was important and effective. So B+.
I'm gonna say 2 things, and I'm gonna roll this into I'm gonna talk about Iguodala, but I don't want to jump the gun too much. But
you can. Let's do Iggy next. I mean, he's kind of the 4, so just
okay. Can we call Iggy the 4? You know what? I mean, in this lineup we can.
Yeah. We can. I mean, it's not Harrison necessarily, so yeah.
Yeah, we can call him the 4. Here's the thing. Draymond Green is their second best player. It's Steph Curry, because Steph Curry is an A+ offensive player in terms of his ability to score. Mm-hmm. Draymond Green is their second best overall player, and Draymond Green was not their second best player in the series. Draymond Green had a disappointing series. Now, because of his high energy style and the fact that he's fun to watch because he's berating the refs and he's talking trash to the opponent, and he hates every call, and he plays really hard. He's so entertaining that you get into it and then you kind of forget that he ain't playing that good. Like, he didn't play that good. He just didn't.
Yeah.
He's more a incredibly versatile defender in a mixed mosh Eurobum league than he is a great defender. Mm-hmm. I don't know of anybody he really matches up that well against at all. Anybody in the league that I would say, oh, that's a guy Draymond can get. That's good. I mean, a guy that's not good, he can eat him alive. But he's not really a 4. He struggles to a real 4 like Tristan Thompson. He can't block him out. Right. He doesn't have the technique. He's strong enough. He don't have the technique. He doesn't have good enough foot speed to stay with he's slower than old man LeBron. He's still slow. Mm-hmm. because LeBron is greatly diminished in terms of athletic ability. It's actually a little weird to watch how slow and how he can't jump anymore. Like the stuff where he would have, but back in the day, like remember when because the Pistons used to put Tayshaun on an island, which is why they would always beat them, because they could put Tayshaun on an island and then go, where you gonna throw the ball? You ain't got nobody even to pass to and you can't shoot.
Right.
Remember that time when he drove past Tayshaun Prince, and I think Ben Wallace was gone, which is part of why this happened. And LeBron like jumped over the whole team and dunked on everybody.
Yeah.
Like, there were so many times where I thought LeBron was gonna just dunk on the whole team, and he didn't do it. And I was like, oh yeah, he's old now. Like he don't jump like that anymore.
Yeah.
He was still blowing past. Anytime Green got on LeBron blew past him with no move. He just went in a straight line dribble drive right by him.
Yeah.
Again, Goon Green is one of my favorite players. He's probably my favorite player on this team, but he didn't play that great. He just did not play that great. I gave him a B minus. I like, he played. His overall effect on the game with every little thing he's doing in terms of, like, he does little stuff like, Tristan Thompson's killing him on the boards, but he doesn't quit on plays. So it'll be a board that Tristan probably normally would have gotten, and he'll just slap it just enough so a guy like Sean Livingston will pick it up or something. Like, he just plays really hard, which is, again, back to why I don't like that other guy that everybody says plays so hard. Why I don't like people saying that. Draymond plays so hard on every play. He finishes plays. He's like a running back in the NFL that finishes their run every time. This is a mentally tough dude. He can help any team in the league, and that's what makes him good. The moment that he starts having kids or whatever distracts him, and he's not playing like that with that kind of focus anymore, he's just a regular dude. But it's mentally is really what makes him different. And I'm going to say something else about Goon Green before I wrap this up. He yelled into the stands, I think at his mother, they told me I couldn't play in this league. I would like to know who they is. Like, did somebody really say that to him, or is this another pro athlete hyperbole thing? Like, Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team and like stuff that ain't true. Like,
well, I forget where he got drafted. But he does lack all of
bottom of the second round.
Yeah. It was like, he almost didn't get drafted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Top of the second round, 35th.
Yeah, like he didn't, like I could see him being, by the scouting report, overweight, right? Being a guy who doesn't jump well, doesn't dunk on people, isn't particularly fast, right? Doesn't shoot the ball or handle the ball particularly well at that point coming out. I can see how he's thinking, but wait, I've got this great motor. I'm an effort guy. I defend a bunch of positions. I can work on these other things. I'm going to lose the weight. I'm going to get in the gym. I'm here, first guy at practice, last guy out kind of thing. I can see him feeling like I've got so much to contribute. I can be this type of player. And scouts being like, I'm not risking a draft pick on that. I mean, but I could always go draft, European dude, soon to be bust Euro bum, number 6.
Who's not even going to show up to your roster. He's not even going to show up.
Yeah, who's not even going to come for 2 years if he comes at all. So, so I could see him thinking or having heard someone say, yeah, this guy's not NBA material, not in today's NBA. Clearly you're stupid and you're wrong if you thought that, because here he is helping some team win a championship. But yeah, I bet that's real. I bet somebody, I mean, clearly 30 teams passed on him in the first round. And probably a bunch of other people said you probably can't make it in the NBA.
Well, I'm going to tell you like this. Here's the thing. I look at the dude one time and I say, okay, what's the floor? The floor for him is Luke Richard Mbamute.
Right.
A pretty good player.
Which,
he's on bad
I'll take that on my roster Yeah, I'll put that on the roster.
Yeah, I'll put him on. I'll put him on a like. And look, we've been naming people that were in the finals that I wouldn't want near my NBA team. I literally don't want them knowing where the practice facility is. I'll take Luke Rashard Mbamute on my team anytime. I'll take him on my finals team, and if nothing else, he play 10 minutes and play good D and come out.
Yeah.
So to me, Draymond Green, that was the floor for him. Like was being a player like that.
Yeah.
And now you see where his ceiling is. He's the second best player now on the NBA champion in a very down league. We've been talking about how bad the league is, but he's the second best player on a championship team. And again, I didn't think he played as the second best player, and that's why I gave him a B-. But another dude though, there's no way if you're a NBA fan, I don't really see how you're not happy that Draymond Goon Green is a champion. I don't see how you're not happy about that. Like that's pretty cool. So, speak on your guy. I mean, he's a little bit all of our guy. But speak on your guy, Andre Iguodala.
Iggy. You know, I couldn't be more proud. You know, like I said, I had a good feeling about him going into the series. I just really felt like this was going to be the opportunity for him to, you know, if anybody can match up with LeBron, anyone in the league really, just in terms of strength, in terms of defensive acumen, that sort of thing, it was going to be Iggy. So I thought he was going to perform well that way.
He said it. We've been doing this for 10 years, man. He said it.
And you know, the thing about it is, and I think I sent the text to you guys about it, and I realized I've been rooting for him for a long time. It's because Scottie Pippen is my favorite player in the history of basketball. I grew up in Chicago when the Bulls were winning a bunch of championships, and I was a Scottie Pippen guy, not a Michael Jordan guy. And the similarities are just endless between the two of these guys to me. They have such similar games, such similar demeanor, such similar approach to the game.
Yes, I agree.
Defense first, share the ball second. You know, that sort of thing. You know,
he is. He's BS. He's BS. Poor man, Scottie Pippen. Absolutely.
Yep. You know, so you know, I paid a lot of special attention to Iggy in the series, and one of the things, you know, I stopped tracking by like the third game, but at one point through the first 3 games, possessions against LeBron was like 4 for 20 against this guy in ISO man-up possessions. And that's just astonishing when you look at what the rest of the team was giving up. And we'll talk about Harrison Barnes in a second. It was the complete opposite, right?
Harrison Wild Street Booty Barnes, dude.
Wow. Giving it up in the finals, Barnes. But who, by the way, I like Harrison Barnes. I think he could develop still, and there's promise for him.
You know what? Harrison Barnes has a real quick jump too, man. Like he can quickly elevate. And I mean, he flies. But anyway, go ahead. Finish talking about it.
So, you know, and the other point, the other thing that I'll point out that I paid attention to, I think it was like game 5 where Iggy had played the first like 2 quarters of the games, didn't score any points, but had like 5 assists and 6 boards and 2 steals.
I remember that.
And it's like
he had 1 point. He had a free throw.
He had a free throw. But he was doing literally everything else, including defending LeBron. And I just, man, you know, you talk about, again, this has been the theme. A bunch of dudes that you really are happy for finding a place on a team and a roster and getting celebrated and becoming a champion. And I mean, obviously, this is an A+. This is an A+. He did everything you could possibly do, including defend the greatest player on the planet, maybe in the history of the planet, certainly in the history of the finals, and did really well. Didn't lose ground against the greatest player to ever walk the earth in the finals. Hats off to him, dude. A+. I can't be happier for him. A+ for Iggy.
You know, I have to agree with you. You know, you're spot on. This is a guy that and he talked about it a little bit. You know, next Penny, next Pippen. And he said, you know, you just go out and you do what you can for the team so you can win. And he's a guy that is gifted in terms of his athletic ability and his skill set, where he literally can do everything. You know, he's you know, LeBron is kind of in a lot of ways, his career path is following in the footsteps of Kevin Garnett. His skill set follows in the footsteps of Scottie Pippen, and he's probably going to take each of those things a step further. I expect that after Kevin Garnett enters the ex-player ownership club, I expect LeBron to follow behind him. And I expect that that's part of his plan in Cleveland and the reason he's there. That's the real reason he's there. Skip bringing a championship there as a player. He's there to own the team.
Yeah.
And bring a champ and bring a real structure and a real championship caliber organization to that horrific franchise. That's what he's there to do. And maybe, I don't know, Dan Gilbert, can go back to doing whatever it is he does, stick money up his butt or whatever. I don't know. But get out of here and stop owning this team and running into the ground. You're terrible. But Iguodala is the minor league version of that. And the point forward, he's the second to last point forward, LeBron being the last one. This is not Jalen Rose, who I respect a lot, his analysis. I disagree with this positionless basketball thing. I disagree. It's not positionless basketball. There's 2 or 3 guys that play like that, and everybody else is a bum playing one position. Andre Iguodala is these dudes are the last of a dying breed. And I can't believe that there were this many point forwards, frankly. I can't believe that we got, after Pippen, we got Grant Hill, we got LeBron, we got Iguodala.
Yeah.
Penny wasn't a forward, so he played like a guard. He was just tall. I can't believe we got this many of these guys. There aren't any more after LeBron. Who's the next one? Who's the next forward that actually can bring the ball up the court under pressure and get you into your offense? Who? There aren't anymore. Iguodala is that guy, though. It's LeBron looking at, a distorted mirror image of himself. And he struggles against him. Iguodala's a great, great, great defender. And 52% from the field, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 0.3 steals, 1.3 steals, 0.3 blocks, 1 turnover per game.
It's just unbelievable. The stat line is unbelievable.
Iguodala is as intelligent a player as it gets. And he's a mistake-free kind of dude. I have no idea why he can't hit free throws anymore. No clue. I don't understand that. I don't understand it. I don't know why it clearly doesn't bother him. But he's shot 80% from the free throw line before in the season.
Yeah, no, he's a good free throw shooter. When that 1 for 11 game came up, I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on.
Dude, no. He can't shoot free throws during the regular season anymore. He shot bad from the free throw line the last 3 years. I don't know why he doesn't hit his free throws. But he shoots free like a center now. He's terrible. But aside from that, like I said, 52% from the field, 40% from the arc. This is from a guy, again, working on his game at age of 30. Working on his game in the offseason, say, you know what? If this is what they're going to have me do, I'm going to shoot threes here. Fine. Andre Iguodala still stepping through traffic, dunking the ball, playing lockdown defense. They would not have won this title without him. They wouldn't have stood a chance. They would not have stood a chance. LeBron would have feasted on these dudes. But Iguodala stood in the way, man, and said, nope. And you know what, frankly, it would have been bad for as bad as this matchup was for the NBA to me, it would have been really bad for the NBA if Cleveland won the title. That would have been really bad. That would have just been awful to have this team that was cobbled together at the All-Star break win the title with two All-Stars sitting on the sideline with catastrophic injuries. That would have made the league look clownish. That would have made them look foolish. And here's the thing, too. Even though, let's not put Blatt and Kerr in the same boat, by the way. Steve Kerr has never coached before, but Steve Kerr does understand NBA culture and does have a reasonable amount of intelligence. David Blatt, something I think is a little wrong with him. and he's not really. He's kind of slow. Like I legitimately don't think that he's all there. He struggles to answer questions coherently. I don't think he's all there, and knows nothing about NBA culture. He couldn't even get the rules right. So there's no comparison. There's no comparison between what was going on the Cleveland sideline and what was going on the Golden State Warriors sideline. So that just goes along with what I'm saying about it would have been really bad if Cleveland, with that organizational structure and that roster, had won the title. And the only thing that stood in the way of it was Andre Iguodala, A+ for our guy Iggy. And I think that might be the best basketball that he plays the rest of his career, but he got his ring, and he was and it's cool to have a dude like that win Finals MVP, because last year Kawhi Leonard got it, and I didn't think he deserved it. This dude actually did what they said Kawhi Leonard did last year. He actually did it, and that I think that was really good for the league. Harrison. Before we get to the Splash Brothers, we unfortunately have to do Harrison Barnes. Oh my God, Harrison Barnes.
So again, I resisted the urge to give this dude an F. Because one of those games he didn't hit any field goals, right? Wasn't he 0 for 9 or 0 for 10 one of those games? Something like that. Like, I mean, come on. You can't miss every shot. And some of those were like open 5-footers. You can't miss every shot in the finals and never defend your position. He could not defend LeBron at all on any possession, period. He got beat every single night to death. Now, granted, it's LeBron, but you got to get a stop occasionally.
He also beat him like every way. He beat him like with every time.
He did.
You know what it was like? It was like he was trying to guard Melo. That's what it looked like. It was like he was trying to guard Melo, where he got the whole menu of ways to get beat.
That's exactly right. No, he got beat off the dribble. He got beaten back down situations. He got beat in transition in the open court. He got beat hand down, man down at the 3-point line, right? He got beat every way you want to get beat. He gave it up to LeBron. So I'm really disappointed because I like Harrison Barnes. Like we just said, I thought, he's still got some promise and some potential. I think he can still grow into being a better player, a more consistent player. I gave him a D because I thought he was terrible mostly, but I'll say this about him. He, too, was important in allowing them to shift to that small ball lineup. He really stepped up his rebounding in the latter part of the series when he kind of shifted over. Maybe he's more the 4 and Iggy was the 3, I don't know. But he crashed the offensive glass really well a bunch of times. He got a couple stick backs and ones. He was out there.
That tip dunk was thorough. The tip dunk on LeBron.
Yeah, like he did that a couple times in the series. He got J.R. Smith earlier in the series, and then he got LeBron. Mm-hmm. More than anybody else, I think his, like you alluded to, he jumps quick. He gets up quick. He's got good length. He's got good instincts. He bothered Tristan Thompson, I thought, more than anybody else on the roster in the rebounding game. Not that anybody was really effective, but if anybody kind of challenged him and got in his way, and took some away from him, it was Harrison Barnes. So fine, that was a contribution of sorts. So that saves you from an F. So I gave him a D.
I had almost the exact same assessment of Harrison Barnes. Oh my goodness, man, Harrison Barnes, just LeBron, like LeBron when he threw them tendrils into the court, he like was hitting Harrison with them and squishing him into the court. Like Harrison like wasn't getting out of the battles alive. Like like he was on the first page of the comic book getting killed, and then that was it. He was out of the book. Like, no, he got eaten alive. He just was not. He wasn't up to the task. He just wasn't. And he shot 37% for the series. Oof, that's terrible when you got eaten alive on defense. I actually gave Harrison Barnes an F. I gave him an F
I can't argue with it. It's just my sympathy that saved him. I can't argue with you.
No, and here's the thing. This is and to I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said earlier. His career is not over. He's got he's got a lot of potential because his athletic ability is so explosive. Harrison Barnes has a lot of room to grow, and he is working on his game. You can tell from year to year he's progressing. I don't know what the ceiling is for the guy. I have no idea, but in this matchup, and you know what? And by the way, it wasn't like this was a thing that happened to him over the course of the playoffs. I'm looking over the rest of the playoffs. He played fine. He was fine.
Yeah.
It was just this series when he had to match up with the greatest player in the world. He just got gobbled up. Like he just there was nothing he could do. So Harrison's gonna be fine, but he had a really bad series. F. Oof. F. Bad. Stinks. Now, the fun part.
Yeah.
Get to Splash Brother number 2, Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson. I know I'm coming in higher than you on this one. I'm sure.
Probably.
But I gave Klay a C+, which actually is lower than I thought I was going to give him, because the difficulty here is I'm trying to straddle where to give Shump credit or where to take it away from Klay. Like, did Klay play bad, or did he run into a really insanely elite defensive perimeter defender? And so, and here's the other thing. Klay had a couple good games in there. Games 1 and 2, he was really solid. And in particular, game 2, I think, was his high game. And that was the game where Curry was totally disappeared. And Klay kept the offense going. He kept him in that game. And he's a large part of why I was even able to go to overtime. So, he didn't shoot the ball well at any point in any phase of the game in the season. He didn't hit his threes like he was supposed to. He wasn't effective inside the three-point line either. Didn't get a lot of stuff going to the basket. Pretty much a standstill shooter, which is bad. You're talking about an all-star, your second leading scorer, your second most dangerous weapon, supposedly, getting pushed into obscurity towards the back end of the series, and certainly inefficiency throughout the series. It's hard to give him credit for the stuff that he did do well. He had a bunch of timely threes. He did. Some points in the game, he hit that you gotta have it transition three-pointer. He hit it. In game 2, he had a bunch of shots where he was just kind of off the dribble, off screens, in transition. He was doing everything he could. But he didn't do a whole lot else. He didn't get me any boards, really. He didn't defend all that well. I mean, granted, sometimes he was matched up against LeBron. Other times he wasn't, and he still got into foul trouble. And so not a good series for him. I gave him a C+. I tried to take into account the fact that he had those 2 games and that he was matched up against, Shump. But at the end of the day, you got to win your matchup, And I think he did win the matchup because Shump didn't give him anything offensively, but just barely, right? Like, just barely. So C+ for Klay. Almost a C, just flat average, but I gave him a C+.
I gave him a C. So I wasn't much below you. I wasn't much below you. I gave him a C. Klay just goes to show. Klay Thompson was Klay Thompson was like kind of the definition or the an illustration of how much better a roster Cleveland or Golden State had in Cleveland. Because in wins, he had 9 points in a win.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
A lot of the time he wasn't doing anything but fouling and doing dumb stuff. And you know what I think happened? I think the fatigue was getting to him. I think the long season fatigue got to him because his scoring average 25 against New Orleans, 17.8 against Memphis, 17.8 against Houston, 15.8 against Cleveland.
Yep.
So I think the fatigue got to him. So maybe he'll work on his conditioning in the offseason for, playing through June. That's something a young cat like that isn't used to. Just not. But But he played okay. He was fine, and that's why I gave him a flat C. He was fine.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: he's too good a player. He's not gonna play much less than C ball. He's too good for that. He plays both ends. So this was probably kind of as bad as he could play. So and you know what? It wasn't a disaster. It didn't kill them. You look up and well, Iguodala's better than me. Okay. I'm sure he don't care. You get the ring either way. I'm sure he don't care. So, nah. So C for Klay Thompson. I'm not gonna beat the guy up. He should have played better, but it's fine. It worked out. It's cool. Now, Splash Brother number 1, the controversial. He's got Carter at the press conference. People got a problem with it for some reason. Dellavedova is better than him for some reason.
I bet people could land. I think you could pick. He was such a different player from game to game to game to game throughout the series. That he could land anywhere. I gave him a B plus because I think more often than not he was good. And actually, there were points in this series where he was just flat out unbelievable. Some of the shots he was making. There was a sequence in Game 5 where you kind of felt like Cleveland was going to be able to get back into it, and LeBron hit a 3, and then Steph Curry came back and hit a 3 right back. There was a play where
I
LeBron.
Remember.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
That's the one where he put Dellavedova in the blender on that one, and then stared the crowd down.
So yeah, you know what you look for in like the great players, not like the all-star good guys, like the great players, the elite players, the Hall of Fame historic players, is they elevate their game when the competition is there. And when when it's time to step up and when you have to take on and go head to head, so play for play, shot for shot against the other player's best team, and you can say, I got in that shootout and I won, and I got the win for our team. I think Curry did that, at least in Game 5, and certainly at other points he tried, and it just didn't, it didn't work out that way in Game 4 or Game 3. But I thought at some points he was the best player on the floor, and that's including with LeBron hanging out there. Now, LeBron was on the back end of 48 minutes that night, but still, at points he was just absolutely unbelievable. Could not have played better. That having been said, Game 2, I don't see how he could have played any worse than he did in Game 2. I think he had 6 turnovers at least twice. I looked at it earlier, at least twice, and I think one of the other games he had 5. So his assist-to-turnover ratio was not very good, especially in the losses. I think it was like 1-to-1, right? So that's a problem. That's a problem. You can't be that mistake-prone in the finals. So I couldn't give him an A for that reason. He disappeared in Game 2. He was absent for the first 3 quarters of Game 3. Big part of why they lost those 2 games, because he just wasn't productive. But then in the wins, he was fantastic. And so I had to give him a B+. He was outstanding at points. But he did enough wrong that I feel like I got to dock him some. And I couldn't put him on even keel with Iguodala, who was of course fantastic, LeBron, who was of course fantastic. So he was a step or a tier behind those guys. So I gave him a B+.
I gave him a flat B, and I almost gave him a B-. I gave him a flat B. I thought that his defense at times was just abominable. Abominable. And in fact, you know what? B-. I am gonna give him B-. His defense was not all the time, but at times was, again, it was just unconscionable, unconscionably bad defense. A player of his caliber can't just stand there and watch some of the stuff that he just let slide. Can't do it. You gotta stick that dude up, man. When he goes to shoot it, you gotta beat that stuff back in his face. You can't even let it get to the backboard. Why are you even letting him do that? You could do sucker moves on that dude, man. You could just let him go by and then reach behind him like Rondo had been matched up against him, and he felt like playing because with Dallas he didn't want to play there for some reason. But yeah, Rondo was matched up with that dude. He'd have stuck him up so many times they'd have stopped playing him, or they'd just stop giving him the ball. And because we've seen the stuff that Rondo has done in the playoffs. We've seen the way he behaves. Dude, Rondo put up LeBron type numbers. He give 35 and a triple double.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, showed you kind of what the league standard is right now, why the league is so down. This was your MVP, and he went out there and he basically played C-level basketball. Yeah, he got his points, but four and a half turnovers a game. He averaged 4.7 turnovers a game.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy? Look, we talked about it before. That boy, the goon splash brother pick and pop stinks.
It's terrible.
Like, stop running it. It's terrible. And here's the thing. It's not that it doesn't work enough times. Because I didn't look. Again, and by the way, just so people know, like, I'm an electrical engineer. You have an MBA. This is not an anti-math thing.
Right.
That's not what this is. All you like stat nerds, I do math way better than you do. Stop that nonsense. That's not what this is about. But I didn't go and see how many times did they score on the Goon Green and Splash Brother pick and pop. I don't know. But what I do know is this. It hurts your team really badly when you have so many catastrophic ends to a play, where so many of them result in a run-out dunk or hurl the ball into the stands.
You turn over in that situation, it's 2 points for sure. It's a dunk the other way. It's a dunk the other way because you're giving the ball away at midcourt.
Definitely. So that's the problem. That's my problem with the play. They have to tighten that up because they keep throwing the ball away.
Yep.
It's not as bad, but like here's a cartoonish version of it is the Dehoovitz Tristan Thompson pick and roll. It ends catastrophically too often. Jeez, man. And by the way, both of those guys are fairly big targets in the pick and roll. They both have good hands. In the choice of in the case of Mozgov, he's 7'2" with good hands, and Tristan Thompson jump out the gym, got good hands. Those are two pretty easy targets. When a dude is missing those guys,
it ain't on them.
No, it's not on them. And man, look, Karl Malone couldn't jump over a phone book, and look, John Stockton used to turn the corner and dime, and the window was like this big, and he would get it through. Like, look, I know we're saying like here's a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying there could be worse targets as far as getting the ball to them. Not that Karl Malone's a worse player, but Karl Malone isn't gonna put his fingers up at the box and rip down a bad pass. Is my point.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, back to Stephen Curry. I can't have my MVP throwing the ball all over the place like that. I just can't. And here's the thing. When he gets 6 turnovers, it's not necessarily the same as a lesser player getting 6 turnovers because he has the ball in his hands more. But this just goes to show you the way the league is going. And he was another example to me of where, for all the talk about Splash Brothers and all this stuff, and rightfully so, they were the leading scorers on the team, he can have a subpar series, not a horrible series, but a subpar series, win NBA championship. Because you got Iguodala waiting in the wings, and Iguodala is a great player.
Yeah.
He really is. So with Steph Curry, I gave him a B- because of the horrific turnovers, the unconscionable, irresponsible defense. Irresponsible. And I would just say one more thing about Steph Curry versus Della Dehoovitz. Basketball back in the old days, there's protocol. You go into somebody's gym, it's their rules. You got to earn your spot. And people go at you and try to prove that you don't belong in our gym, no matter who you are. And that's part of the protocol of going into people's gyms and playing pickup basketball, going on their court. They did some of that in Above the Rim, where it's like, hey man, it's their court, their rules. You got to throw up a hook shot from half court for some reason. Their court, their rules. You know, Larry Bird talked about it in the Magic Bird documentary, you know, talking about the black players in his clan run town, the black dudes that were, you know, working in the kitchen at the restaurant, their court, and they would let Larry Bird play because that's how we are. That's also what got our brothers and sisters killed in South Carolina, letting somebody worship with them that had no business being there. But in the case of Larry Bird, they let him hoop with him, and Larry talked about that and how that shaped his opinion on what basketball can do and why he's the type of player that he is. They let him come on their court. And the NBA is where Steph Curry grew up. Mm-hmm. And he let a clown come on his court and get some shine. Now, it wasn't real. He wasn't actually playing well, as I just statistically detailed easily, because it's on its face garbage. Mm-hmm. But he gave them an excuse to talk about this clown. When he should have been he should have been whooping on that guy so badly that people were saying, man, come on, dog, man, leave him alone, man. That's what he should have done. He should have all of a sudden acted like, you know what, I'm Mr. 94 feet now. I'm going to do like Patrick Beverly and pick you up full court and make them take the point away from you. Like when Montrose told Kyle Lee Watson in Above the Rim, oh, they took the point away from you. And they were moving him to shooting guard so he could shoot more. Mm-hmm. But that was an insult, see, back then. And look, yes, this is and we're going to, like, at some point we're going to start it. We're going to start Get Off My Lawn segment. We're going to start it. But what Steph Curry did, allowing that dude to come into his house, man, again, he grew up there. He messed up, man. He messed up bad. He messed up. Mm-hmm. And he didn't have to pay for it because the NBA is such a joke now that your MVP can play a subpar series, your second leading scorer can basically stink up the joint, and then like some dude off the bench that your coaching staff inexplicably benched. The first people to ever bench Iguodala benched him, and then they just unpacked him later on, and then now he's Finals MVP. This was so backwards. It really was. It was very, very backwards. And your league MVP, Finals, championship ring, B-. You don't see Hakeem with a B-. You don't see I'm naming them, dude. You don't see Hakeem with a B-. You don't see Dwayne Wade with a B-. You certainly don't see LeBron James with a B-. You don't see Dirk in his championship year with a B-. Dirk hit every one of them iron leg jump shots. He dropped Udonis Haslem off with the iron leg jump shot like 6 times in a row at one point. It was ridiculous. Yeah. You don't see that. You don't see that in the finals. And the league and the NBA, here's the thing, man. The NBA, for me, I'm just a senior basketball analyst, man. I just watch the games and tell you what I saw. But for these other guys, this is their life. This is where they made all their money. This is where they spent their whole careers. This is where they spend their post-careers. It's a fraternity. And they're letting it deteriorate. And there's evidence all around them that it's deteriorating, and instead of talking about it, they're just letting it happen. And I don't know why they're just letting it happen, but it's happening, and I'm reporting on it. So those are my thoughts on Steph Curry, and I think that he's emblematic of the entire league. He's just emblematic of it. This was your standard bearer. Your standard bearer was a very, very flawed player this year. Very, very flawed. And completely one way. You know, two-way players. Man. Completely one way. Just a one-way dude. And by the way, I would submit to you, maybe a little bit better than Damian Lillard and not much better than Kyrie Irving at all. He's lucky he didn't have to deal with Kyrie all series. Because Kyrie Irving was after him till his kneecap snapped. So I, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about the long-term view of that. So, um, any thoughts on any of that?
Well, only this, just to so we don't close on such a
Also,
downer.
wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, such a Debbie Downer here, but no, I'll say this. I agree with you though. I agree with you that in a year where we saw Russell Westbrook really put on what a full-fledged elite caliber super mega star point guard in the MVP race
Ru-
consideration could do, right?
Russell Westbrook would have mailed Dellavedova's body parts to his family. That's what would have happened. They'd have
Yeah.
been like, all of a sudden, his family would have been getting. There'd been an arm, and then here's a hand. It'd be like they'd have been calling the authorities, and they'd have been like, "What you expect us to do? He's gone already. Like, what do you expect us to do?"
Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, I agree with your point. Like in a year where we saw some really fantastic stuff from other guys, Harden as well. Yeah, like your MVP clearly had some holes in his game and then got exposed on the biggest stage. So that's not great. However, that having been said, I thought this was a really good finals. Actually, I enjoyed this much more than the past 2 years of Miami versus San Antonio. Um, I thought every game, obviously, every game was competitive. I mean, these were very close games. The margin, the point differential on these games is like insanely close.
Let me say something real quick
Yeah.
about let me say something real quick about James Harden. James Harden, who is the butt of all the jokes and Mr. Clowntown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Against Golden State, he averaged 28 points on 46.7% from the field, 43% from the arc, 7.8 rebounds, 6.4 assists, zero point 0.6 blocks, 2.4 steals.
Mm-hmm.
And James Harden's a clown though. He turned the
Yeah.
ball over.
And they went on that big run without him, so that got talked about too.
Oh yeah, right. They had that one time he had that. Yeah, he had a 3 for 16 game in the middle of that series where he got benched,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he still averaged 28 a game. Like, and see, this is what I talk about with the coverage and the way how biased and stupid it is. Like, why are you acting like this dude? This dude stomped on Golden State. He
Mm-hmm.
stomped on Klay Thompson. He made Klay Thompson look like an amateur. Stomped on him. And then but it ain't really fashionable to talk about James Harden anymore. People are kind of tired of him. So, oh no, James Harden's an idiot. He fell that time. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It is, dude. It's dumb, and you know it, man. It's disgraceful.
It is. It is, and he was my pick for MVP. I mean, we've been talking all season. I think you were a little more Westbrook. I think I was a little more Harden. But
Oh yeah, that's right. None of us picked Curry. We were like, what?
no, none of it. That seemed real wrong. But yeah, but my point is, yeah, there
In
were a
the
lot of
finals,
great.
he wasn't even the best player on his team.
But again, all that said, I really enjoyed the finals. I thought these were really entertaining. I loved seeing LeBron play this way, even though it almost killed him. And I've enjoyed everything that this finals turned out to be. I mean, there was like a couple of the games were like silly, but for the most part, they all ended. Every single ending to all these games, except for the one blowout game where Golden State won by like almost 20. Except for that one, all the rest of the games had fantastic finishes. Even Game 6, you kind of felt like LeBron might still steal this one.
Mm-hmm.
So overtime for the Game 1 and 2, great finishes in both of those games. I felt like, and then great moments. Like they won Game 3 or maybe it was 2. And at the end of it, LeBron was so tired and the ball was kind of in his hand. He just kind of like stood there and kind of bent over and like had both hands on the ball, like exhausted. And it was just like, man, these guys are going at it, and they're giving everything. And LeBron is trying to pull off the impossible. And I found myself rooting for that, even though I kind of picked Golden State, so I kind of wanted Golden State to win so I could be right, kind of thing. But but I was rooting for LeBron, because how could you not? He's giving everything anyone could ever possibly give to be as good as he could be on the court. and help his team win. It was just so I'm really glad to have seen it. It gave me some enthusiasm that I had been lacking about the postseason in the previous couple of years. So I was glad to see it. It was good finals, very entertaining, very competitive. Guys showed up, happy for the guys who wanted to get rings. Yeah, so overall finals, I liked it. Thumbs up in spite of some of the flaws with some of the game from some of the players and some of the things that we've mentioned so far today. But overall, I like the finals. I thought it was a good finals.
I would I agree with most of that, most of the sentiment. I'm not as enamored with it as you. Um, the finals were somewhat entertaining, but I thought that the games were poorly played for the most part.
Hmm.
The 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 level of the level of intricacy to these offenses is pitiful relative to what it was just 2 years
Terrible.
ago. It's
Yep. Yep.
And I'm more entertained by that. And I'll tell you something else too. The style of play isn't that exciting because I was talking about this, maybe on a previous show or maybe it was just us just spitballing back and forth, but it ain't even a lot of trick dunking going on anymore or anything like that. Like so. Even the superficially entertaining things, it's just a bunch of people launching up threes. Like I could watch a college game and watch that. These dudes just hit more of them. But that's not particularly entertaining. So I wasn't as, like I said, I wasn't as enamored with it, but I was entertained enough. It wasn't nearly as bad. Last year was really bad, dude. That was garbage. That was as boring as it gets. In fact, some of those games I just cut them off.
In the finals, right? That's ridiculous. In the finals,
just said, man, I don't want to watch this anymore. I got better stuff to do. So yeah. But with that said, I do agree with your sentiment for the most part. So we can wrap it up there. That's the NBA Finals report card. Senior Basketball Analyst, and you know that.